Hi guys, it's album review time. We've got a special show though. We've got Paul Swift with me. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Lee. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. So Paul joined me once before when we did the last Blackberry Smoke album. We did a review of that You Hear Georgia, which was that 2 years ago now, mate?
It was 2 years ago. I can't actually believe it's been 2 years, but yeah.
So Paul's a massive Blackberry Smoke fan. Correct me if I'm wrong. The last time we spoke, we've just spoke messaging and that, but when we done that show, you hadn't seen Blackberry Smoke at that time. Am I correct?
You're correct. At that time, I hadn't. Since then, I have.
Well, how was it, mate? Just quick 5 minutes. How was it?
Wow, what can I say? Obviously, I was very excited. Leading up to it, even the travel, I was like a little school kid. Um, And even when the support act was on, which I think was a Steelwords, I was just like in my own world and wasn't really paying attention to their music. I couldn't even tell you who they are, what songs they sang. All I wanted was Blackberry Smoke. They didn't disappoint. They played a lot of the classics. I've got a video on YouTube of myself singing One Horse Town, which was fantastic. They played, like I said, they played all the classics. But I wasn't expecting to find new songs that I didn't like previously. So, for example, Leave a Scar and Payback's a Bitch. I liked them previously, but when I heard them live, I was like, my God, they shot right up. They're just so good live. Probably the best gig I've ever been to. I'm going to say that, and I am biased. But they were amazing. And to top it off, I did the old backstage pass.
Oh, nice.
So obviously bought that online, donated. I think it's $250, but I think in English pounds it's like 200-ish, just over 200. It's for a good cause for the Lana Turner Foundation, which is, I believe, Brit's daughter. And yeah, I went backstage and met the band, and they were so humble and so polite. I had a beer with Richard Turner, which was like just mind blowing. I've still got the beer cap. I've got like a bag of goodies, which I need to get framed on the wall behind me here. You can't really see, but this is my Blackberry Smoke wall. But I've got other things scattered around. But you can only see a small section, unfortunately. Yeah, it was just amazing, mate. Paul Jackson's son Spencer sort of walked me down a corridor towards the band. It was a little bit rockumentary. I thought I was dreaming. It was so strange. And then as they walked in one by one, I like shook their hand. I was really nervous. I think they could see I was nervous and made me feel at ease. But all I can say, mate, is just each and every one of them, absolute gentlemen. They were just so accommodating and so kind, and I was like loving it. I had loads of questions before I went in that I was desperate to ask, but as soon as I was there and they walked in, it went right over my head. Stage fright, just trying to drink my beer and take it all in. It was so bizarre, but I absolutely loved it. Best day of my life, mate. It was class.
Oh, mate, I'm really glad you had a great. I knew you'd have a great time. I've seen. They are just perfect live performers. They are brilliant. You're totally right. Right. Okay. So that you got that out of the way. That was one of your bucket list Monday.
That's one of my bucket list tick. Yeah.
And they're back with a new album.
Yes.
So it came out February 16th. So it come out. We've had it for about a week now.
Yeah.
I think you had it a little bit longer because you bought the physical copy and you had it a little bit longer. Come out on
CD.
Oh, you got the CD. Hold it up a little bit more then, mate, in front of your face so I can. That's it. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah.
Lovely artwork.
Love the artwork, of course. Anyone who doesn't know Blackberry Smoke, I do cover them a lot on this channel, since I started the channel, everything new that's come out. So they're from Atlanta, Georgia, Southern rock band. Be Right Here is the new album. Like I said, it's come out on Three Legged Records. Produced by Dave Cobb, who's done You Hear Georgia and this one. We will get onto the production in a second. But in the band, obviously the main man, Charlie Starr on vocals and guitar, Britt Turner on the drums. Just a quick one with Britt Turner out. I mean, you are we're both massive Blackberry Smoke fans, but obviously Britt has had health issues. What's the latest update? Do you know?
I don't. I do try and keep an eye on it online, and obviously on the forums, people just continue to send prayers. I don't know the ins and outs. I know he's unwell. Seriously unwell. and I'm just hoping he can continue to do what he loves doing, really. But behind the drums with the boys. I know that when I went to see him live, he was unwell then as well, and they had a stand-in drummer whose name I don't actually know, but he was really good. But yeah, that's my only sort of withdrawal, is the fact that I didn't see Brit, so it's kind of incomplete for me. I'm hoping next time I see him, then Brit will be there. But yeah, I don't have an update. I just know he continues to be unwell, and I wish him a speedy recovery.
Well, if Brit gets, I always say Brett then, because Brit's a bit of an unusual name. But if Brit's watching this video, if he does, I hope he does. We wish you well, mate. We really do. So
get well soon.
Yep, definitely. Richard Turner on the bass, Paul Jackson on the guitar, Brandon Steele on the keys, and of course the Black Betty's on backing vocals.
Yeah. Yes.
And I've got to say, Black Betty's are playing a big part yet again on this album. But if you look at Wiki and stuff, because I was getting a little bit of info on the album, not even named. That's just ridiculous at the moment in the band, and they are quite a big part of this band now. I think they've done a lot for the band sound, in my opinion. So that's a bit of a shame. They should have a lot more notoriety as a. It ain't the band. It's Wiki, you know.
They do have a mention in the back of the little CD, but so they are mentioned in there. Just with Benji and Preston, who's percussion, Cherie backing vocals, Sharita backing vocals. Yeah, they do get a mention, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's Wiki though, mate, isn't it? You can't. Yeah. That's just, you can't trust them. It's not the band, it's Wiki. So I mean, man, I've played this album through probably less times than you have, because of my trying to keep up with everything, but probably heard each song. Obviously I did a reaction to each song, and then since then I've heard the full album about 3 times, I would say. So I've got a good feel with it. How about you? 45 times or
more than 3, not quite 45, maybe 10ish, maybe a bit more. It's a good album.
It is a good, I mean, I've got to say, they're one of the most consistent bands. I mean, you just know that it's going to be good. It's going to be good to brilliant. That's that's how they are, isn't it? I mean, if you look back at all their discography, I don't think there's been any one album you could say that's a bad album, and that's
no.
I think this is their 8th album, mate. No, 8th album, studio album now.
I'll take your word for it. I've got loads piled up here and beside me, but some are not albums, some are EPs and stuff on CD. So, and then you obviously got the live ones as well, haven't you? But I agree. Definitely, they've never done a bad album. Like I said, they're too consistent to do that, constantly producing great tunes. So,
we're going to have a little at the end of this video. So I had a quick chat with Paul before we started recording. Where we think it sits at the moment, but it can change kind of in the discography of any band. The more time you spend with it, but as we actually, how we feel at the moment where this sits. So I mean, I love the album. I've got to say, it's the close. I think they've really, before we get on to track by track, I think they've carried on. Definitely, it almost feels like the brother of You Hear Georgia to me.
Yeah, I do agree with that. It's quite similar sounding throughout. There's a couple of tunes on there that are very unique, which I absolutely love, because you can't really compare it to anything. But I do pick other vibes up. So Like an Arrow, for example, there's a couple of tracks on there that remind me of that album. There's a couple more that remind me of Find a Light as well. So it's a nice balanced album, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the album. We'll go track by track, mate. I'll let you start if you want with Dig a Hole, and what we'll do is we'll take turns in leading, and then we'll just chip in where we think.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's all sing like it's a brand new thing.
Yeah, okay. So this was one of the pre-release singles, wasn't it? I believe it's a good introduction to a new album, because upbeat song. I do feel the song grows more and becomes better once the guitar solo kicks in, and everything seems to just come together nicely. It's got a strong finish. For me, I was sort of on the fence with this one when I first heard it. I don't think it's like amazing. It's certainly not poor by any stretch of the imagination. It's a good track, but I couldn't sort of decide on how to score it. So I've just gone for, at the moment, a 7 out of 10 for that one. It's good, and if I listen to it a bit more, it could grow on me a bit more as well, I think.
Yeah,
7.
I think for me, it reminds me a little bit of. It's sort of like reminds me of the track You Hear Georgia as well. It reminds me of that
Yes,
sort
it
of
does.
stop,
Yeah,
that sort of stop start sort of thing going on.
yeah, yeah.
There is. I don't usually pick out lyrics, but I love that lyric, mate. That you give me an inch, I'll take a country mile. I just love that because of the
Yeah.
the country sort of
Yeah.
element in the band as well. It's sort of separate in a lot of cool sections, isn't it? And then it's sort of
Yes.
separated. It's very cool. I really like the song. I think it'd be a great live song, which I'm sure they're going to play as well. But I gave it an 8 actually, and I'm really stingy on my
Wow.
scores. So.
that surprised me a lot. Yeah, because you are stingy. I'm usually like, oh, they're all 10s and all the rest of it because I'm so biased. I try hard not to. But wow, an 8, mate, for you, that is going some. Yeah, I'm impressed with that.
I think it's this sort of like bluesy, almost black blues type thing going on with it. It's a very cool sounding song. And then we move on to the Hammer and the Nail, or Hammer and the Nail, another single.
Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail.
A lot of singles
Yeah.
when they're pre-release. So this brings me back, and I have written down some past albums that it reminds me of as well, just like you probably have. But you were going to mention a minute, but this really reminds me of the Holding All the Roses era.
Yeah, yeah.
I love how the piano is used here, and that's what I really like about Blackberry Smoke. I love it when the piano's up in the mix and you can really hear the piano as a main instrument, and they really remind me of like classic Skinner, like that, when they use the piano and stuff. It's really fun.
You can hear on this album like Tom Petty, the Allman Brothers, the Stones, even. There's lots of their influences like come through. I think in this album.
Totally agree. You like that one then, mate? Hammer and the Nail? I scored it an 8, by the way. I mean, come
again.
on.
Blimey, 2 in a row, mate, is unheard of. The new territory. It's another one of the pre-release singles, isn't it? Again, it's really catchy. It's very upbeat. I like the lyrics on this one as well. It's on par with the previous track, Dig a Hole, but I just think it's a little bit too short in terms of length because it's quite a short song. But I do think it's slightly better. So my scores, I don't want to give anything away, but they do creep up. So this one I've gone 7.25 or 7.25.
Oh, I love the detail, mate. I love the detail. Oh, to tell you the truth, I mean, I do round them up probably a little bit more than you. I prefer Hammer and the Nail to Dig a Hole. So I'm looking at a strong 8 for this one. So there you go.
Yeah, I was unsure, 7.5. So I thought, right, I can't decide. Got to go down the middle. 7.25.
Yeah, it's a really fun track as well, that one, isn't it? It's so much fun. Okay, Like It Was Yesterday.
Lord, help me remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Again, really love the intro to this one. Beautiful vocals. It's a proper foot stomper. And there's quite a few foot stompers on this album, to be fair. It's got a great bridge, a great build up into the solo, which is also really, really good. And it's better than the previous 2 tracks, in my opinion. So an improved score of 7.5.
Well, we are going to match on the opinion of it being the best of the first three tracks. I totally agree with you there again. Love the track. It reminds me, probably, I don't want to give anything away where I'm going to sit with the discography at the end, but my favourite album it's not my favourite album, but of the past few has been Find a Light. I love Find a Light.
Yeah.
So I think it really reminds me of maybe like Best Seat in the House, that sort of.
Yeah, it's quite similar. Yeah.
They know how to write a catchy track for sure, don't they? And this really is a catchy track. I think it was released as a single on the day of release of the album as well, or something.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't. To tell you the truth, I don't usually see things like that. Once the album's out, I'm like, you know what I mean? But I think I saw a post of it being the latest single, but I might even be wrong there. But what a great song that is. So yeah, I'm an 8 again. an 8 again.
Bloody hell, a hat-trick of 8s.
But yeah. Okay, we're going to go on to the next one, which is Be So Lucky.
If I could ever be as lucky as you, there ain't a single thing I couldn't do.
And this for me is the weakest track on the album.
Really? Okay.
I'm not saying anything's bad, by the way.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do much for me. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's a bit slow.
Okay.
It has a sort of almost, for me, like an almost 60s feel. And they've got a lot of influence, obviously, as well, from everywhere. And like I said, although it's okay, it almost feels a bit like a filler track for me. I know they're so good at songwriting, so for me, it's just not as good as, you know, the first three. But I mean, you know, we all like our stuff. I've only scored it a 6, so I've dropped down to a 6.
Well, strangely, I did have this sort of 6-ish, 6.5 when I first got the album. But as I've listened to the album more, it's grown and grown and grown and grown. And yeah, I think of the 4, this is the best one. So the intro and guitar effect for me has got a little bit of a similarity. I don't know if you know the band Soundgarden, you probably do.
Oh, yeah.
When they did that Black Hole Sun song, I think it's quite similar to that in some ways. It's an unusual sound. It changes pace quite a bit. It's very likable and quite catchy. I really love the chorus. It's got a strong start, you know, it just continues a strong start to the album. Another great solo. I think the guitar solo in this one's really good. And it does remind me a little bit of Ought to Know from I think Ought to Know's from Like an Arrow. It's got a similar vibe to that. But like I say, initially I was on the fence with it. And a few days later, I was like walking along, I was humming something in my head. I'm like, what song's this? Like, why am I humming this song? And I realized, oh, it's that Blackberry track, I can't get my words out now. That Blackberry Smoke track. Yeah, so it's grown on me. Yeah, and I like this one better. So my scores continue creeping up sequentially. This one's 7.75, mate, for this one.
Oh wow! Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's catchy, but you know, it's just I don't know. There's something about it. But it might have said 3 times here in the album. Do you know what I mean? It could grow again. So no. Next up, mate, is Azalea.
Half the learning's in the leaving. That's the only thing.
Well, yeah. For me, this is where the album starts to come to life a little bit more. I believe it's another pre-release single. Wow. For me, what a track. Beautiful sound again, lovely melodies, proper chill out vibes. And I always think when the Smoke do anything soft or acoustic, they just absolutely nail it. They're perfect at that. It's an absolute stonker. As I say, it's a great tune. And I always find on any album, there's always a few hidden gems on any Smoke album, and this certainly falls into that category. So for me, this one's a very strong 8.5, so 8.5.
Well, I'm totally with you on this one. It is the strongest track so far. It's an 8.5 from me as well.
Wow.
Absolute brilliance here. So you're right. They really nail the acoustic side of the band. It is just amazing here. So beautiful mix to the album as well, which really, when that acoustic guitar, it just sounds beautiful. It really does. So that sort of authentic Southern sound that they've got. I think you're totally right. They really excel in that, and it's I think it's like is it like a mandolin as well going along, being introduced with the guitar. I think in this really adds to it as well. Definitely one of my favourites. And we haven't really spoken about individuals in the band, but Charlie Starr on this, like, you know, almost secluded vocal with just the guitar is amazing stuff. So Azalea, perfect, absolutely brilliant.
Great song.
Okay. Next up is Don't Mind If I Do.
Yeah, we ain't gonna live forever. Only one time around is true.
So I like this track a lot. It's sort of almost like they've done this a few times lately. It's all like a fun, like 12-bar boogie. I mean, if there's any American friends watching out there, which I'm sure there will be, you might not know this band as much as me and Paul will, but Status Quo, like 12 Bar Boogie. Status Quo are like I mean, man, they're an institution in Britain, aren't they? I mean, they've been going for years and years.
Old school, isn't they?
They're old school for sure. But this has the basics of that 12 Bar Boogie for sure. And Rock and Roll again, like which they did on, I can't remember what album that is, on Holding All the Roses, wasn't it? It's all that 12 Bar Boogie, fun sort of party track. They really do know how to have fun on the track as well, almost like summer day beers. You can imagine, you know, that people dancing to this amazing stuff. I've scored it a 7.5.
Okay. Right, this one I've highlighted in red. And it's funny you mentioned it was 12 Bar Boogie, you mentioned Quote. I've got all of that in my notes. So I'm glad we agree. I do think it's funky, it's jazzy, it's bluesy. It is a little bit 12 Bar Boogie, dare I say a tad poppy. And again, like you say, gives me Quo vibes. It's very similar to Let It Burn from Like an Arrow, and very similar to All Over a Road from their last album, You Hear Georgia. So this is one track that I bracket as okay, and it's not to my taste. That's not to say I don't dislike it. It still sounds clean, fresh, and hip. It's just not my favorite. But it does have an amazing solo again. But so far it's my least favorite on the album, so I've given this one just a 6.
Okay. Cool. What You No Good. This is a weird title, isn't it? It almost doesn't make sense to me. This.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yes, I don't worry, don't get in a hurry, ain't no reason to fight.
I don't know if it's like if the watcher part is like an Americanism, sort of like you are no good sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Or but you're no good.
It doesn't. I was like that. Some titles sometimes I think, what does that actually mean? But I think you're leading on this one, mate. What do you reckon of this one?
Yeah. Well, this for me, by far the best song on the album. As soon as I heard it, and this is on listen number 1, you know, first time around, started tapping my feet, and I'm looking down, I'm like, what's going on? I'm jigging, I'm boogieing. I absolutely love this song. Just I can't actually sit still when this one's playing. It's really different to the others on the album. It's unique, so like I say, I can't really compare it to any other Smoke song, which I love. It's really smooth. I've not heard a song like this before by the Smoke. Which is always a bonus. It's lyrically sound, it's really catchy, even a bit sexy, you know. It's another excellent addition to the Smoke entourage. And I believe there's also a video on YouTube of this one where the band look like they're having such a great time recording it. So yeah, I mean, spoiler, easily the best one on the album, and this is a 10, mate, a solid 10.
Wow. Fucking hell, mate.
First listen, 10. Love it.
Very cool, very cool. I really like this song as well. Sort of quite mellow, isn't it? Like you said, quite sexy sort of track. Has a sort of coolness about it, like you said. And dare I say it? I was thinking of it does sound like a standalone track, but I always try to look for it has similarities too. It almost sounds like a coolness of like if the Stray Cats, remember the Stray Cats, they done some sort of thing. The groove is really cool. Where I think Be So Lucky didn't sort of work in that more slower thing for me, I think this succeeds much better at that sort of thing, where it's not a ballad, but it slows. It's just, if you know what I mean. I love the subtlety used in the chorus as well with the Black Betties. They're sort of coming in with those backing vocals, which are gorgeous. It's for me, it's not one of the best tracks. We've all got to think differently, but I really do like it. I gave it a 7.
Okay. 7's still decent, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Not considering my scores what they've been like, but anyway, we're getting on to the other side of the light.
If the sky is falling and the mountains all shake, will you be my shelter?
This is me, innit? I think it's me on this one.
Yeah, you can leave me.
Now, I really do like this one. This is another brilliant track, mainly driven by the acoustic guitar with some cool sort of electric guitar sort of dotted in and out on that great chorus. I think it's where they it sort of really hits the sweet spot with me with Blackberry Smoke with this one. It's an amazing track. I've given it an 8.
Okay,
Yep.
quite similar. So yeah, I think it's another great song, like you say. Similar opening riff to Free on the Wing, like in fact very similar. It's another beautiful song. It's effortlessly great. I love everything about this track, and again, after just one listen, I knew this was going to be a fan favorite with a lot of the Blackberry Smoke fans out there. I do get Find a Light vibes from this track, and I think if this song was on Find a Light album, it wouldn't be out of place. I think this is a classic. It's not quite a 10, but I've gone 9 for this one.
Cool. Thanks, mate. Obviously a favourite of yours. That's cool. And then we move on to the very party track, Little Bit Crazy.
Yeah, I got to be a little bit crazy.
Would you like this one, mate?
Yeah, and another one of the pre-release singles, isn't it? Without doubt, my favourite intro to any of the songs on the album, because the Black Betty, Cherie and Sharita just bring it instantly to life. However, for me, I can't remember the other track that we spoke about previously. It's a little bit poppy for me. Although I know this one is already a hit and it's really popular. For me, it's just not one of their better ones from the album. I do love the chorus again, which pulls it back a little bit for me. It's good. It's equal to the opening couple of tracks. I've given it a 7 for now because I think if I listen to it a bit more, it's got potential to grow on me. So this is one I was really struggling with to look, where do I what score do I give it? So I've gone for 7. I can't decide whether it is a 7 or whether it's going to grow. So for now, it's a 7.
Well, I'm a little bit. So I really like this one. It is again, like you said, the other track I think we was talking about. It must have been I can't even remember what it is, but it's that one that had the Quo sound again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that was track 4. I think.
Yeah. So it has that same 12-bar boogie type thing.
No, sorry. Track 6, my mistake.
That's right. Yeah, sorry. That's all right. I couldn't remember which one it was, but yeah, that don't mind if I do, and it's that one. Very 12-bar boogie again. Do you know what I mean? Very, very fun as well. I love the beginning as well. I'm like you with that. The way it's sort of like it's sort of in the studio, isn't it? Being recorded, but without in the background. It's such a cool start to a song. Love it. Giving it an 8. That one.
Wow.
So really, really good fun. That one. I love it. So right, okay. So we're moving on to we're on the last track, and we.
I can't feel the danger. I'm under your wing.
I really think this is a great end to the album, to tell you the truth. I think this is a grower. So I didn't know what to think first of all when I first heard it. The second time I heard it, I thought that's good. And the last time I heard it, I loved it. So I think this is a really the country side of the band, more than the rock side come out in this one. It gives me, to tell you the truth, the Whippoorwill track feels of that sort of almost a little darker side of Blackberry Smoke that they sometimes come through with. Very mellow, stripped back and emotional, like they can get. It's a great ending to the album, and the backing vocals again really play a big part from the Black Betties in this. I actually scored this before I listened to the album the third time. I put a 7.5, but I'm going to go up to an 8 again with this one. Love the track.
Okay.
Brilliant track. What do you reckon, mate? Good one?
Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said, especially about it being a great way to end an album. It's another acoustic beauty, lyrically beautiful. It's another great song, and you'll probably tell from my scores so far today that I do lean towards their acoustic stuff. I do absolutely. I love their rockier stuff as well, but for me, they, as I said previously, they just nail any when it's slowed down, it's soft, it's clean, it's acoustic. They absolutely nail it. So they just master anything in that sort of genre. So it's another solid song and another solid score. It reminds me a little bit of Prayer for a Little Man, which is one of my all-time favorite tracks of theirs, and I've given this 8.5. and I think it could grow as well.
Yeah. Oh, mate, a brilliant track to end, and we agreed on a lot there, didn't we? There was a couple that we didn't, but
you surprised me though, and with the opening, I think 2 or 3, 3 eights straight off the bat. I'm like, bloody heck, wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I think this album, the way I felt the first time I heard it, I thought it was good. Obviously, it's always good with Blackberry Smoke, isn't it? But I literally, every time I've heard each track, they've got better and better. So this could even go, this could be a real grower, this album. But I said we was going to look at where we think. In the discography, there's been 8 albums, like I said. I haven't done the ranking of Blackberry Smoke's album. Perhaps I will do one day. Perhaps we can do that maybe one day.
I'd love to do that, mate.
But I was thinking, where does it come at the moment? And the only albums that I put ahead of this album at the moment is Whippoorwill is my favourite album from Blackberry Smoke, and has been for quite a while. I just love that album. I think it's perfection. Find a Light is brilliant, so that comes behind Whippoorwill for me. And then I have Little Piece of Dixie sort of fighting for 3rd place with this album, to tell you the truth. So I'm like, this one, or it's 3rd or 4th for me.
It's a tough call. I agree with the 3 you say. Find a Light, Whippoorwill, and Dixie. They're class. And I'm sure, there it is. Bad Luck Ain't No Crime for me is high up there as well, and Like an Arrow. So I'm maybe behind Like an Arrow, maybe 4th, 5th. I'm not quite sure. I'd really need to think about it. And like you say though, although it's not my number 1 album, it is definitely a grower. Because every time I've heard it, and I keep changing my mind on the scores, which one I like the best. I mean, I'm not going to change my mind on Watching No Good. That's my favorite. That's a 10. But the others sort of creep up around it, and it's just a really good album.
It is. I mean, it definitely. I think like I said, the last album, you hear Georgia and this are so similar sounding. I'm not saying it's a copy of the album, for sure it's different, but I think they've found this sound, haven't they? And that they're going to, I believe they're going to go with. I mean, I think back when Whippoorwill was around, for me, that was a real like classic Skinner sound to me. And I think they've lost that a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're going their own way. I think the Skinner vibes have gone off a little bit lately, Yeah.
I think it's better than their last album for sure. I mean, You Hear Georgia was a good album, and it's similar to this one, like you say. But I think there's more on this album that were like instantly likable for me. And as you know, I'm a massive fan, so they all grow, even the ones I claim that I don't like. They eventually grow. What can I say? I'm biased.
So, well, we definitely agree with each other, mate. It's a great addition to the Blackberry Smoke catalogue. And when we do, maybe we'll do a ranking, and then we'll leave it a little while, and each album. I'm a bit weird with the ranking. What I do, I tend to listen to each track and score the track, then get the albums, because you sort of think sometimes that album's my favourite, but if you go for each track, it might not actually be. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
See, I do the same, but I work with percentages. So you 10 scores, tot them all up. Let's say it scores 75, for example. You pick up a different album and it scores 100. And you're like, oh, I didn't think I liked that one more, but it had more tracks on it.
Yes.
So I always divide it by the number of tracks to get my average score, and then
but maybe we'll do that. You're definitely the person to do it with, put it that way.
Oh, brilliant. Good to know, mate. Good to know.
All right then, mate. Anything before we go?
No, I think we've covered everything. I'm glad we got to big up the gig back in Birmingham in March 23. That was just one of the best days of my life. Absolutely awesome stuff. You got to go. If anyone who hasn't seen them live, you have to do it, because they're so much better live. I just think it was fantastic, mate. But I mean, that's it from me. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. and I'm always available for a Blackberry smoke video, mate.
Cool, mate. I'll see you again soon, yeah?
Yeah, take care, Lee. All right, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.